The grand hall of Outpost 17 was silent except for the faint hum of the lights above. The war between the humans and the Zolari Empire had been going on for years, and now this remote human station was the latest to fall. Outside, alien ships hovered in the sky like dark clouds before a storm, their shapes casting long shadows over the compound. Inside the hall, a group of human guards stood in a straight line, weapons lowered but ready. They had been ordered not to provoke the alien visitors. The war had already cost too many lives, and now their commander hoped surrender would save what remained of the outpost. The heavy doors at the far end slid open with a sharp hiss. A dozen Zolari soldiers entered first, tall and strong, their armor gleaming under the hall's cold light. Each step echoed against the walls, the sound sharp and steady. Then she entered. Queen Alara of the Zolari Empire was not a woman who blended into the background. She was tall, with an air of calm authority, and every soldier in the room seemed to stand a little straighter. When she passed, her silver blue eyes scanned the hall slowly. Moving from one human face to the next, she expected fear, defiance, or anger, the usual reactions from her enemies, but then she saw him. The moment her gaze reached the far end of the line, her steps slowed, and she froze for a heartbeat. There, among the human guards, stood a man with short brown hair, a strong jaw, and eyes that seemed far too familiar. His stance was steady, but there was something in the way he held himself, a quiet confidence that struck her deeply. For a second, her mind betrayed her. She was no longer in a human outpost. She was standing years in the past, on the palace balcony of Zolari Prime, watching Carol, her former husband, speak to the people. The shape of the man's face, the slight tilt of his head, it was all the same. It couldn't be him. Carol had disappeared long ago, vanishing without a trace. She had accepted that she would never see him again, and yet this human guard looked like a perfect reflection of him, younger, but unmistakable. Alara's officers noticed her hesitation. One of them, General Vesk, stepped closer and whispered, "Your Majesty, is there a problem?" She ignored him. Her attention was fixed on the human guard. She took a slow breath, pushing her surprise deep inside. A queen could not afford to show weakness, especially in front of both her soldiers and her enemies. The human guard, whose name was Tomas, felt her eyes on him. He had faced alien soldiers before, but never the queen herself. He didn't know why she was looking at him like that, and the longer her gaze lingered, the more uneasy he became. He tightened his grip on his weapon, though he did not raise it. Alara finally moved forward again, her footsteps softer now. Her eyes briefly scanned the other humans, but they kept returning to Tomas. She could see confusion in his expression, and perhaps even a hint of recognition, though that made no sense. He could not possibly know her. When she reached the center of the hall, she spoke, her voice calm but commanding. "This outpost is now under the control of the Zolari Empire," she said. "You will surrender your weapons and follow our orders. No harm will come to you if you comply." The human commander, an older man with gray hair, stepped forward. "We will comply," he said. "Our people have suffered enough." Alara gave a short nod, but her thoughts were not on the commander. Out of the corner of her eye, she could see Tomas still standing at attention. She told herself it was just coincidence, just a human who happened to look like Carol. And yet, the resemblance was too strong to ignore. Her soldiers began collecting the humans' weapons. The air in the hall was tense, filled with the sound of metal clinking and boots shifting. Alara should have been focused on securing the outpost, but instead, her mind kept circling back to one question. Who was this man? For years, she had buried her feelings about Carol, convincing herself that the past was gone and the war was all that mattered. But now, in the middle of a human surrender, the past had walked into the room in the shape of a stranger. She knew she needed answers. Tomas could not stop thinking about the way the alien queen had looked at him. It wasn't the cold, hard stare of an enemy leader. It was different, strange. Her eyes had searched his face as if she was trying to find something hidden there. He had never seen her before, but something about her made his chest feel tight. Almost like he had stepped into a dream he couldn't understand. He tried to brush the thought away, telling himself it was just the pressure of the moment. After all, she was the most powerful figure in the Zolari Empire, and he was just a soldier from a small human settlement. Across the hall, Queen Alara moved with calm grace, but her mind was far from calm. Her soldiers had already taken control of the outpost. The humans were standing quietly, weapons removed. By all rights, she should have given the order to move the prisoners and begin the next stage of the mission. But she didn't. Her eyes kept returning to Tomas, and the resemblance to Carol refused to fade. It was not just the shape of his face, or the color of his eyes. It was the way he stood, the set of his shoulders, the stillness in his expression. Carol had once stood that way beside her, years before everything fell apart. She felt General Vest's gaze on her again. He was a loyal officer, but also a sharp observer. "Your Majesty," he murmured, stepping closer so only she could hear. "Shall we move the prisoners to the transport ships?" Alara's silver-blue eyes shifted toward Tomas once more before she answered. "No, not yet. I wish to speak to one of them first." Vest frowned, clearly puzzled. "One of them? Which one?" She gave a small tilt of her head toward Tomas, the guard in the center. "Bring him to me." The general hesitated, a dangerous thing for a Zolari officer to do in her presence, but then nodded and carried out her order. Two alien soldiers walked over to Tomas. Tomas tensed, wondering if this was the end for him. But instead of dragging him away roughly, they simply gestured for him to follow. "The Queen wishes to speak with you," one of them said in a deep, echoing voice. He exchanged a glance with his commander, who gave a slow nod. With careful steps, Tomas walked toward the center of the hall, where the Queen waited. Alara watched him approach, keeping her expression neutral. She could not afford to let her soldiers see the storm of questions building inside her. When he stopped a few paces away, she studied him closely. "What is your name?" she asked in a calm tone. "Tomas," he replied. His voice was steady, but his mind was racing. "Where were you born?" She continued. "A place called East River," he said. "It's a small town on the northern continent." Alara considered his answer. "And your family? Who are your parents?" "My mother's name is Mara," Tomas said. "She raised me alone. My father, I never met him. My mother said he was a traveler who left before I was born." A faint chill passed over Alara's skin. A traveler who vanished before his child's birth. The story matched too closely with Carol's disappearance from her world. She kept her tone even, though her thoughts were anything but calm. "Do you have anything that belonged to your father?" Tomas hesitated, then reached under his collar and pulled out a small pendant hanging from a chain. "This," he said. "My mother gave it to me. She said it was his." The moment Alara's eyes fell on the pendant, her breath caught. She knew that symbol. It was etched in the flowing lines of the Zolari language, a phrase that read, "Protector of two worlds." Only one person had ever worn it, Carol. Her fingers twitched slightly, as if she wanted to reach for it, but she held herself back. "Do you know what it means?" she asked. "No," Tomas admitted. "It's not any language I've seen before. I always thought it was just some strange design." Alara's mind was now filled with possibilities and dangers. If Tomas was connected to Carol, it could mean Carol had survived. But it also meant Tomas might be a bridge between the two warring races, or a threat to both. Behind her, General Vest cleared his throat impatiently. "Your Majesty, we should proceed. The longer we stay here, the more risk we face." Alara gave him a short glance, then turned back to Tomas. "You will come with me," she said at last. Tomas stiffened. "And if I refuse?" A faint smile touched her lips, not of cruelty, but of certainty. You won't answers as much as I do." Her words struck him like a blade of truth. He did want answers. All his life he had wondered who his father was, why his mother spoke so little about him, and where this strange pendant had come from. The Queen turned and began walking toward the side doors of the hall. Without a word, Tomas followed, flanked by two alien guards. The humans in the hall whispered among themselves. The soldiers of the Solari watched in confusion. It was not common for Queen Alara to take such interest in a single human. But none of them knew what she was thinking, that perhaps, against all odds, the war had just brought her face to face with a piece of her lost past, and if she was right, the truth could change the fate of both their worlds. The side quarter of Outpost 17 was quiet compared to the large grand hall. The sound of footsteps echoed softly against the metal walls as Queen Alara walked ahead, her long cloak brushing the floor. Tomas followed, his eyes shifting between her and the alien guards on either side. He still had no idea why she had chosen him for this strange meeting, but something in her earlier words told him she knew more about his past than he did. They entered a smaller chamber. The door closed behind them with a hiss, sealing the room from the noise of the soldiers outside. The chamber was lit by a single strip of pale light across the ceiling, casting soft shadows on the walls. Alara stopped near a table at the center and turned to face him. "Sit," she said. Tomas hesitated but then took a seat. He kept his hands on the table, his posture straight, watching her carefully. The queen did not sit. Instead, she moved to stand across from him, studying his face, as if trying to memorize every detail. "You are not from the city regions of your world," she said. "No," Tomas replied. "I grew up far from the big cities. My mother raised me alone. She never talked much about my father, only that he was different." Alara's eyes narrowed slightly at that word. "Different? In what way?" She never explained. Tomas said, "Sometimes I asked, but she would change the subject. The only thing she gave me was this pendant. She said it was from him." Alara's gaze flicked to the small silver object resting against his chest. She remembered seeing it years ago, on Carol's neck, her mind filled with old memories. But she pushed them aside. Now was not the time to let emotion take control. "What do you know about your father?" she asked again, more directly. "Nothing," Tomas admitted. "Sometimes I wonder if he was even real. Maybe he was just a story she told me." Alara took a step closer, her voice low and steady. "Your father was real. I knew him." Tomas blinked, surprise flickering across his face. "You knew him?" "Yes," she said. "He was a man of great skill and courage. And then one day, he disappeared without a trace." The words felt heavy in the air. Tomas leaned forward slightly. "Where did he go?" "That," Alara said slowly, "is what I wish to know as well." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the room's air system was the only sound. Then, Alara turned toward the two guards. "Leave us," she ordered. The guards glanced at each other, uncertain, but obeyed. The door slid shut again, and the chamber was now just the two of them. Alara's expression softened, just a little. "Tomas, you may not believe me, but your father was not from your world. He came from mine." Tomas stared at her, unsure if she was serious. "From your world?" "Yes, he was a Solari, like me," she said. He shook his head. "That's impossible. My mother was human. I'm human." Alara studied him closely. "You're human, yes, but your father was not. That is why you carry his pendant, and why you stand here now looking exactly as he did when I last saw him." Tomas opened his mouth to speak but stopped. His thoughts were a tangle of disbelief and curiosity. If what she was saying was true, then half of who he was came from beyond the stars. "Why are you telling me this?" he finally asked. "Because," Alara said, "your existence may be the key to ending this war, or destroying both our worlds." Tomas frowned. "Ending the war? How could I possibly do that?" Before Alara could answer, the chamber door slid open. General Vesk entered, his face tight with urgency. "Your Majesty, enemy reinforcements are approaching. We must secure the prisoners and leave now." Alara's eyes flickered with frustration, but she nodded. "Prepare the ships," she ordered. Vesk glanced at Tomas. "And the human, he comes with us," Alara said firmly. Vesk hesitated. "Majesty, that is an order." "General," she said, her voice sharp. Vesk inclined his head and left. Tomas stood. "If you take me, my people will think you're taking a prisoner." "They can think what they wish," Alara replied. But you will not be harmed. I need you alive. Tomas crossed his arms. And if I refuse? Alara met his gaze without flinching. You won't refuse. You want the truth. And the truth lies beyond this place. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the human guard and the alien queen, both carrying pieces of a mystery neither fully understood. Then Alara turned and walked toward the door. Come, she said. We have much to discuss. But time is short. Tomas followed her out into the corridor. The hum of the alien ships outside grew louder as they approached the landing bay. Soldiers moved quickly, securing equipment and preparing for departure. Some of the human prisoners watched as Tomas passed by with the queen. Confusion was clear in their eyes. Why was one of their own walking beside the alien ruler instead of being dragged away like the rest? Tomas ignored their stares. His mind was fixed on the queen's words, "Your father was from my world." As they stepped into the cold night air, the dark shapes of Zolari ships loomed ahead. Their sleek designs glowed faintly under the pale moonlight. Alara led Tomas toward the largest of them, the royal vessel. Inside, the air was cooler, the lighting softer. Guards moved with silent discipline. Alara stopped near a private cabin and gestured for Tomas to enter. "This will be your quarters for now," she said. "We leave within minutes." Tomas stepped inside, glancing around at the unfamiliar technology. "And after that, Alara said, we begin finding the truth about your father, and perhaps the truth about why this war truly began." Her words left Tomas with more questions than answers. But deep down, he felt something he hadn't in years. The sense that he was standing at the edge of something far bigger than himself. And he wasn't sure if he was ready for it. The hum of the Zolari royal vessel was steady, almost like a low heartbeat. Tomas sat in the small cabin the queen had given him. The walls were smooth and silver. The lights a soft white glow. There was a small bed in the corner and a round table in the center. Everything looked strange to him, not just because it was alien, but because it felt to come for a ship that had just taken an enemy from a battlefield. He was still trying to process everything. A few hours ago, he had been standing guard in a human outpost, waiting for an alien army to take control. Now, he was on the Queen's personal ship, told that his father was not human and that his life might be tied to the fate of two worlds. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Queen Alara entered, her steps measured, her posture straight. She wore no helmet now, only a simple silver circlet across her forehead. Without the heavy armor of her soldiers, she looked less like a distant ruler and more like someone carrying a heavy weight. Tomas stood out of habit, but she motioned for him to sit again. She took the seat opposite him at the table. "I told you earlier that I knew your father," Alara began, her voice calm. "Now I will tell you what I can." Tomas leaned forward slightly. "I'm listening." "His name was Carol," she said. "He was a Zolari prince. My husband." Tomas blinked. "Your husband?" "Yes," Alara said, her eyes holding his. "We were united not for politics, as is common in my people's traditions, but because we chose each other. Carol was unlike anyone I had ever met. He had a way of seeing both the strengths and the flaws in people, and still believing they could be better." Her voice grew softer for a moment, as if she was remembering something far away. "But Carol was also restless. He believed our empire had grown arrogant. He wanted peace with other worlds, not conquest. That belief made him many enemies in our court." Tomas listened in silence, trying to imagine his unknown father as an alien prince. "One day," Alara continued, "he left. He told me he had to go beyond our borders to find proof that peace was possible. He promised to return. But weeks turned to months and then years, and he never came back. No word. No sign. Nothing." Tomas's mind was spinning. "And you think he came to Earth?" "I do not think," Alara said firmly. "I know. That pendant you wear. It belonged to him. It is a royal emblem, given only to those who swear to protect both the Zolari people and another world. He never took it off. If you have it, it means he gave it to someone he trusted. That someone was your mother." Tomas touched the pendant unconsciously. "So, you're saying my father was an alien prince, your husband, who left your world to try and make peace, and ended up with my mother. Alara's lips curved into the faintest smile. That is the simple way to put it, yes? He looked down at the table, his thoughts tangled. Part of him wanted to believe it, because it explained so many things, the way he had always felt out of place, the strange dreams he sometimes had of places that didn't exist. But another part of him resisted. Accepting this meant accepting that his life was connected to a war much larger than anything he had known. After a moment, Tomas asked, "Why tell me this now? You could have kept it to yourself, because," Alara said, "you may be the only living link to Carol. And if there is even a chance he is still alive, I must find him. But I cannot do that without you." Tomas raised his eyes to hers. "Why me? You are human," she said. "But you carry his blood. There may be places only you can go, people who will only speak to you. And if Carol truly wanted peace, then perhaps you are meant to finish what he started." Her words settled over him like a weight. He wasn't sure if he was ready to carry it. "And if I don't want to be part of this," he asked quietly, "then you will go back to your people," she said. "But you will go back knowing the truth, and perhaps wondering what might have happened if you had chosen differently." The silence between them stretched. Tomas could hear the faint hum of the engines and the occasional distant step of a guard outside the cabin. Finally, he said, "What happens next?" Alara leaned back slightly. "We are heading to a neutral sector. There is a place there, an old trading post, where rumors say a man matching Carol's description was seen years ago. If we find proof, then we follow it. If not, we search elsewhere." Tomas studied her face. She was calm, but he could see the determination in her eyes. This was not just about duty for her. It was personal. "You really believe he's still alive?" Tomas said. "Yes," Alara replied without hesitation. "Because if he were gone, I would feel it. I have never felt it." There was something in the way she said it that made Tomas believe her, at least a little. Before he could speak again, a soft chime came from the wall. Alara touched the panel, and a voice spoke in the Zolari language. Tomas couldn't understand the words, but the tone was serious. She stood. "We are nearing the neutral sector. Rest while you can. When we arrive, things may move quickly." She moved toward the door, but before leaving, she looked back at him. "Tomas, whatever happens, remember this. Carol believed you could protect the worlds. I believe it too." The door slid shut, leaving Tomas alone. He sat back in his chair, the pendant cool against his skin, his mind a storm of questions. He didn't know if he was ready to be the link between two civilizations. But one thing was certain, his life would never be the same again. The Zolari royal vessel moved through the silent stretch of space known as the neutral sector. Out here, no single race claimed ownership. It was a place where traders, wanderers, and those who wished to disappear came and went without questions. From the window of his cabin, Tomas saw a wide scattering of stars and, in the distance, the faint outline of a large station. It looked old, with parts of its structure patched together from different materials. Dozens of small ships drifted nearby, coming and going like insects around a lantern. Queen Alara entered the cabin quietly. She wore lighter armor now, meant for travel rather than battle. "We're here," she said. Tomas turned from the window. "This is the place where you think my father might have been." "Yes," she replied. "Years ago, a man matching Carol's description was seen here. It is only a rumor, but in a place like this, rumors are often the only way to start." She handed him a dark, high-collared cloak. "Wear this," she said. "The fewer people who recognize you as human, the better." Tomas frowned. "You think being human will be a problem? In some corners of the galaxy, yes," she said. "Simply, especially if someone realizes who you might be." They left the ship together, accompanied by only two guards. The air of the station was different from Earth dry, with a faint metallic scent. The main docking bay was busy, filled with travelers from many worlds. Tomas saw beings with skin like polished stone, others with long feathered crests, and even some who seemed more machine than flesh. Alara walked with quiet authority, her steps steady and confident. Tomas kept close, his eyes scanning the crowd. They made their way into the station's market area, where stalls sold everything from alien fruit to strange tools whose use Tomas couldn't guess. Voices spoke in a mix of languages, and the air buzzed with the sound of trade. At one corner of the market stood a small tavern. The sign above it was old, the letters faded. But Alara seemed to recognize it. She motioned for Tomas to follow inside. The lighting was dim. A few patrons sat at scattered tables, speaking in low voices. Behind the counter stood a short, broad-shouldered being with 4 eyes and skin the color of copper. Alara approached the counter. "We're looking for someone who may have passed through here years ago," she said in a calm tone. The barkeep tilted his head. "I see many people," he replied. His voice was rough but not unfriendly. This man was tall, Alara continued. Dark hair, carried himself with the presence of a leader. Wore a pendant with Solari script. At the mention of the pendant, one of the barkeep's lower eyes narrowed. "I might remember," he said slowly, "but memories are easier when they are encouraged." Alara reached into a pouch and placed a small metallic chip on the counter. It shimmered faintly. Encouraged enough, the barkeep studied the chip, then slipped it into his belt. "He came here about 8 cycles ago. Didn't stay long. Spent time talking to the old trader in Dock Hall 3. After that, I never saw him again." Tomas felt his pulse quicken. This was the first real sign that his father had truly been here. "Do you know where he went?" Tomas asked. The barkeep shrugged. "I don't follow my customers, but the old trader might know. If he's still alive." Alara gave a short nod. "Thank you." They left the tavern and headed toward Dock Hall 3. The station's corridors grew quieter as they walked. Fewer travelers came this way, and the lighting was dimmer. At the far end, they found a small shop with shelves stacked high with all kinds of goods, star maps, old ship parts, and dusty containers. Behind the counter sat an elderly man with withered skin and pale eyes. When he looked up, his gaze lingered on Alara for a moment before moving to Tomas. "Not many humans come here," he said. "What brings you to my little corner of the station?" "We're looking for someone," Alara said. "You spoke to him years ago. His name was Carol." The old man's eyebrows lifted. "Carol. Yes, I remember him. Strong voice. Eyes that seemed to see right through you. He bought a map from me. Not a normal map, but one showing old hyperspace lanes, long abandoned." Tomas leaned forward. "Do you know why?" The man shook his head. He didn't say. "But I do remember one thing. He asked about a place called the Divide. Few dared to go there." Alara's eyes sharpened. "The Divide," she repeated. "You know it, Tomas?" Asked her. "Yes," she said slowly. "It is a dangerous region of space, unstable, full of storms and shifting gravity wells. But it also hides many secrets. If Carol went there," she stopped, her voice tightening. "It means he was looking for something important." The old man waved a hand. "That's all I know. He left the station soon after, heading in that direction. Whether he made it or not, I cannot say." Alara thanked him and turned to leave, but Tomas hesitated. Did he say anything else? The man thought for a moment. "Only this: if the day comes when someone with my blood walks this path, tell them to trust the stars." Tomas felt a shiver run down his spine. That had to mean him. Back on the ship, Alara stood by the main view screen, staring out at the stars. Tomas joined her. "So, the Divide," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "If Carol went there, we must follow. But it will not be easy. Many ships enter the Divide. Few return." Tomas gripped the pendant in his hand. "If my father went there, I have to see why. I have to know." Alara's eyes softened. "Then we go together." For the first time since they met, Tomas felt not like a prisoner, but like a partner in this search. Whatever lay in the Divide, it was now their shared mystery, and it was pulling them both toward it. The Divide stretched before the Solari vessel like a living storm. Stars bent and shimmered. Gravity waves twisted the space around them, and distant flashes of energy lit the void. Tomas gripped the edge of his seat as the ship weaved through the dangerous region. Every adjustment made by the crew was precise. But even the smallest error could mean disaster. Queen Alara stood at the command console, her eyes fixed on the readings. Her calm confidence had become a steady anchor for Tomas, who had never experienced anything like this. The danger of the divide was real, but the thrill of following the trail of his father filled him with determination. Hours passed, and the sensors picked up faint signals. Alara's fingers moved quickly across the controls. "There," she said, pointing to a glowing marker on the map. "He was here recently. Someone has been traveling these routes." Tomas leaned closer. "Can we follow it?" "Yes," she said, "but we must move carefully. Whoever is following these traces may not welcome our arrival." The ship shifted and turned, navigating narrow channels of gravity wells. Tomas felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. He was following the footsteps of a man he had never met, yet whose presence shaped his entire life. The pendant around his neck felt heavier, as if it carried a part of Carol's determination with it. Suddenly, the sensors registered movement nearby. Small ships, faster and smaller than the royal vessel, approached from multiple directions. Alara's eyes narrowed. "They know we're here," she said. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The crew responded immediately, adjusting shields. And course, Tomas gripped the console rail as the vessel dipped and swerved. Energy blasts struck the outer hull, leaving bright streaks of light, but the ship held. Alara's skill as a pilot and leader shone through, guiding them safely through the first wave of attacks. "Who are they?" Tomas asked. "Mercenaries," Alara said grimly. "They know about Carol's disappearance and are hunting for the same reason we are: power, information, or wealth. But they do not understand what we are seeking." Tomas felt a surge of resolve. "Then we won't let them stop us." Alara glanced at him, her expression softening for the first time since the divide had begun. "Good. Courage will guide us, but we must also be smart." The vessel emerged into a calmer pocket of space. Ahead, a small asteroid cluster formed. A natural fortress. Alara's sensors detected life signs. "This is it," she said. "Someone is here. He may be inside." They landed on a flat asteroid surface, where a small settlement had been built among the rocks. Smoke rose from chimneys, and small ships moved in and out of docking bays. The settlement looked abandoned in parts, but signs of recent activity were clear. Alara and Tomas disembarked cautiously, their guards following silently. The air was cold but breathable, thanks to the settlement's filtration system. Tomas felt the tension in his chest as he looked around, wondering if this was where he would finally see his father. A figure emerged from the shadows of one of the larger buildings. He was tall, strong, and moved with a quiet confidence. Tomas's heart skipped a beat. The man's dark hair, sharp eyes, and calm presence were unmistakable. It was him, Carol, Tomas. The man said, his voice calm but filled with emotion. "I wondered if this day would come." Tomas stepped forward, unable to speak for a moment. He reached out, and Carol nodded gently. "I'm glad you are here," he said. "And I see you carry the pendant." Tomas touched the small silver object around his neck. "I never understood until now. I know who you are, and I know why you left." Carol smiled faintly. "I left to protect both worlds, to prevent them from falling into endless war. I never stopped hoping that someone would continue the mission, someone like you." Alara stepped forward, her eyes meeting Carol's. "I never gave up searching for you," she said softly. "The Empire demanded obedience, but I could not stop following the trail of truth. And now, we are here." Carol's gaze shifted to her. "You risked everything. Your courage saved this moment." Tomas felt a surge of pride and wonder. He realized that this meeting was not just about finding his father. It was about bridging the gap between humans and Zalari, about trust, courage, and hope. The three of them spoke for hours, sharing stories of the years apart. Carol explained the dangers he had faced, the knowledge he had gathered, and the reason he had hidden in the divide. He had been working to find ways to prevent future wars, to protect both his people and humans. Tomas listened intently. Every detail made the past clearer, and yet it also made him realize how much responsibility lay ahead. Finally, Carol looked at both of them. "The path ahead will not be easy," but together, we can create a future where our worlds are no longer enemies. Alara placed a hand on Tomas's shoulder. Then we will do it together. We will honor the past, and we will protect the future. Tomas nodded. I understand now. I will not let my father's efforts or anyone's sacrifices be wasted. The three of them stepped outside, looking at the stars scattered across the divide. The dangers of the sector were still there, but it no longer felt threatening. It felt like a place of new beginnings, a bridge between two worlds that could choose cooperation over conflict. Carol reached into his cloak and handed Tomas a small device. This will help you navigate the divide, he said, and it will help our people communicate safely. You are part of this mission now, as much as I ever was. Tomas accepted it, feeling the weight of responsibility settle comfortably on his shoulders. It was not a burden, it was a purpose. Alara watched them, her eyes reflecting hope. We cannot change the past, she said, but we can choose a new path, one where courage, trust, and unity guide our actions. Tomas glanced at the pendant, then at his father and the queen. Then let's begin, he said. Carol nodded. Yes, together. We will build a future worth protecting. And so, in the heart of the divide, with danger still surrounding them, but hope shining brighter than ever, humans and Zolari stood united. The past had brought them here, but the choices they made now would shape the destiny of both worlds. It was a new path, forged from courage, trust, and the unbreakable bond of family. And for the first time in his life, Tomas felt truly at home, not just in the galaxy, but in the story that was his to carry forward. The Zolari royal vessel moved silently through space, leaving the neutral sector behind and heading toward the divide. Tomas watched the stars streak past the window, his mind full of questions. He had never imagined that his life would lead him to this moment, following the traces of a father he had never known, alongside an alien queen whose past was entwined with his own. Queen Alara stood at the ship's main view screen, her hands resting lightly on the console. She was quiet, her expression thoughtful. The crew moved efficiently around her, preparing the vessel for the dangers ahead. General Vesk approached her, his steps careful. Your Majesty, he said, the Council of the Zolari Empire has sent messages. They demand that you return with the prisoners and complete the mission. They are growing impatient. Alara did not turn from the view screen. I know, she said softly. Vesk hesitated. If we disobey, there will be consequences. Alara finally looked at him, her silver blue eyes calm but firm. I am aware of the consequences. But this mission, it is not about conquest. It is about finding the truth. Vesk's brow furrowed. The truth? The Empire has no time for old ghosts. We have power to secure, enemies to defeat. If we delay, someone else may strike while we are distracted. Alara shook her head. And if I continue to follow orders blindly, what will we gain? Another captured outpost, another group of prisoners? Carol is my past, and perhaps the key to the future. If he is alive, it is more important to find him than to please the council. Vesk looked at her with concern, but he knew better than to argue further. Alara had always been decisive, and once she made a choice, there was no turning back. Meanwhile, Tomas stood nearby, listening. He did not fully understand the politics of the Zolari Empire, but he could see the weight of the decision the Queen faced. Her loyalty to her people was strong, but now it was being tested against something far more personal. The search for a lost man who had changed her life. Why are you doing this? Tomas asked quietly. Alara turned her gaze to him. Because I must, because if I do not follow this path, I may never know the truth about him or about you. And perhaps I may never see peace for our worlds. Tomas swallowed. But the Empire, they will not be happy. They could punish you. Then I will face it, she said firmly. Sometimes the right path is not the easiest one, and sometimes it requires defying even those you serve. A silence fell between them, broken only by the soft hum of the ship. Tomas studied her face, seeing determination and courage mirrored in her features. For the first time, he felt that he was not just following a powerful ruler. He was part of a mission that mattered, one that could change the fate of countless lives. The ship began to enter a sector of space where the stars seemed to cluster closer together. The sensors picked up faint anomalies, small gravitational distortions, pockets of radiation, and irregular energy signatures. The divide was near. Alara moved to the console, checking readings carefully. "The divide is dangerous," she said. "Many ships are lost here. Navigation is difficult. Storms and gravity wells shift constantly. We must proceed with caution." Tomas felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had never been in space like this before, and the thought of entering such a dangerous region made his heart race. But the idea of finding his father made the risk worth it. The ship's crew worked silently but efficiently, following Alara's instructions. Every course correction, every adjustment, was done with precision. Tomas watched them, realizing that he had never seen discipline like this. The Solari were not just warriors. They were people capable of incredible focus and skill. Hours passed. The stars outside twisted and shifted as the vessel moved deeper into the unstable region. Tomas noticed small flashes of light and waves of energy that made the ship tremble slightly. Alara's expression never changed. She guided the vessel with calm authority, her eyes flicking between the displays and the view screen. Finally, the ship reached a point where the reading stabilized slightly. Alara turned to Tomas. "We are close to where Carol was last seen," she said. "From here, we must be careful. The divide does not forgive mistakes." Tomas nodded. "What do we do first?" "We follow the trail," Alara said. "I have contacts who may have information. Traders, travelers, anyone who saw him or spoke with him. But we must move quietly. The Empire would not approve. And there are others who would take advantage of his absence." Tomas felt a chill. He realized that their mission was not only dangerous because of space itself, but because of those who might try to stop them. Yet he felt a new determination rise inside him. If his father had risked everything for peace, he would do the same. Hours turned into days as the vessel navigated through the shifting hazards of the divide. Tomas and Alara worked together, reviewing reports and analyzing data. Slowly, a pattern began to emerge. Small sightings of a man traveling alone, unusual. Trade deals and coded messages left for anyone searching for him. One evening, Tomas sat with the pendant in his hand. The faint glow of the display screens reflected on its surface. "Do you think he knew I existed?" he asked quietly. Alara studied him for a moment. "I believe he did. That is why he left traces, why he left signs for someone like you. He trusted that, one day, you would follow the path he began." Tomas felt a shiver of both awe and fear. "And if we don't find him?" Alara's eyes were steady. "Then we keep searching. But we will not give up. Carol's life, and the future of our worlds, may depend on it." The tension in the ship was high, but there was also a sense of purpose. Tomas realized that he was no longer just a soldier or a bystander. He was part of something larger, a mission that connected the past and future, two worlds, and a man whose story had shaped them all. Alara moved to the command chair and gestured for Tomas to follow. "Rest if you can. The journey ahead will test us in ways we cannot yet imagine. But remember this, sometimes the bravest decision is the one that defies the expectations of others. Sometimes it is the one that follows the heart, not the rules." Tomas sat back, holding the pendant. He thought about his father, the Queen, and the unknown challenges ahead. A sense of resolve filled him. No matter what came next, he would face it, not as a lone soldier, but as part of this shared mission. And in that quiet moment, deep in the heart of the divide, Tomas understood that sometimes the right choice was not the safe choice. Sometimes the right choice was the one that required courage, trust, and a willingness to step into the unknown.